I want to apologize in advance. This particular episode may be a little bit more controversial than what you normally see from me. Um, Both believers and non-believers may take offense to some of the things that I say here. It's also borderline, you know, covering somewhat might appear to be conspiracy theories. And at the end of the day, it's really just truth versus deception. This is Everything is Debatable, and I'm your host, Bosco. So I made a post earlier this week about the Bible being the foundation of truth. And I want to explain why I said that and, give you my thoughts on it. But first, I want to address some of the misconceptions that people have about the Bible, religion, and uh, all things in between. Anyway, when I first made the post, a gentleman showed up and he said that um, Hinduism is an older religion than what I don't know what he might have assumed. I guess he was saying is older than the Bible. The writings of the Upanishads are in fact older than the Bible. The misconception is, and I've experienced this and heard this a number of times, where people will mention the writings in Egypt or in Sumeria and other places as they precede the writings of the Bible. However, the fact is that people communicated orally before writing was developed, and we cannot date when a story was first told. We can date through certain, scientific methods when it was written, but not when the story was told. So it is illogical to think, as many people state, that a story is stolen, plagiarized, or borrowed from another culture simply because that culture may have written it first, right? Um, so what you would see a lot of times when you're talking about religion, the religious texts, the writings, is the similarities in the different stories, right? So again, this is where the idea of things being stolen or plagiarized comes from. But really what that indicates, it should indicate, is that there's evidence of a shared history that, as science has taught us, that people started in one area and then migrated. So the fact that the stories are similar is just saying that they all originated from the same place and then they spread out across the globe. Um, so I wanted to address that first. The second thing that I wanted to address was I had mentioned Zoroastrianism, or the writings of Zoroaster. And I said that, pretty much that he was to me, the first prophet. And in fact, Zoroastrianism at times, right along with Hinduism, is considered one of the oldest religions. So I think that they may have come up at the same time, um, or at least very, very close to each other. But I've told people I don't consider myself a Christian, a Muslim, or any of those denominations or religious faiths. I consider myself a primitive Freemason, and I'm going to read for you from Albert Mackey's book, "The Symbolism of Freemasonry." Um, and this will give you a better idea of where I'm coming from and why I say I'm a primitive Freemason. So let me read some of this to you, and this will give you a better idea of where I'm coming from. So this is again from Albert Mackey's book, "The Symbolism of Freemasonry." He says, and he makes these propositions. He said, with these preliminary remarks, the reader will be enabled to enter upon the consideration of that theory of the origin of Freemasonry, which I advance in the following propositions. Number one, in the first place, I contend that in the very earliest ages of the world, there were existing certain truths of vast importance to the welfare and happiness of humanity, which have been communicated, no matter how, but most probably by direct inspiration from God to man, right? That's the first proposition. Again, that there were certain truths that were communicated directly from God to man, right? And then it says here, let me find it. Okay, it says, and three, these truths of God and the immortality were most probably handed down through the line of patriarchs of the race of Seth, but were at all events known to Noah and were by him communicated to his immediate descendants. In consequence, number four, in consequence of this communication, the true worship of God continued for some time after the subsidence of the deluge to be cultivated by the descendants of Noah. At a subsequent period, no matter when, but the biblical record places it at the attempted building of the Tower of Babel, however you say that, there was a secession of a large number of the human race from the descendants of Noah. These seceders rapidly lost sight of the divine truths which had been communicated to them from their common ancestor and fell into the most grievous theological errors, corrupting the purity of the worship and the orthodoxy of the religious faith which they had primarily received. Then in 8 it says, the first class was confined to the direct descendants of Noah, and the second was to be found among the priests and philosophers, and perhaps still later among the poets of the heathen nations, and among those whom they initiated into the secrets of these truths. Of the prevalence of these religious truths among the patriarchal descendants of Noah, we have ample evidence in the sacred records. As to their existence among a body of learned heathens, we have the testimony of many intelligent writers who have devoted their energies to this subject. So what you have at this time, and this is 9, the system of doctrine of the former class has been called by Masonic writers the pure or primitive Freemasonry of antiquity, and that of the latter class the spurious Freemasonry. So there was a split between the people who had this knowledge, and one kept it pure. Now, so you have to follow me. You have the communication from God to man that is then that pure or primitive Freemasonry is taught to Noah, and he teaches it to his descendants, and then it goes along that line. But then you have a group of people who secede and then create what is known as spurious Freemasonry, or corrupted doctrine of the original truth, right? And again, I say the Zoroaster was the first prophet. Now, if you study his writings, the Avestas, what you will find is that the similarities between what you find there, you will find in the Bible and also in the Quran. You will find them in all 3 of those books. As in fact, Zoroaster had a prophecy of the Messiah or benefactor almost 2,000 years prior to his arrival. And his followers, the Magi, which they changed to wise men in the scriptures, were the people who actually knew the location and the time of his birth. And his followers are the ones that came to seek him out. But you find in the teachings of Zoroaster one God, the monotheism. In fact, the monotheistic faith is first introduced by Zoroaster, and then you also have the beings. In the Bible, they're called angels, and the Quran, they're called jinn. But you have these beings, and you have 2 sides. You have one that is good, one that is bad. So it's a common theme among all of those books. But when I say that the Bible is the foundation of truth, it stems from this. I guess for myself, I would think that if God did communicate directly to men, that men would ask one essential question in the beginning. How did all of this happen? How did I get here? How did all of this get here? That seems, even children ask that question, right? Because it's just something that we want to know. We desire to know that. So if that is the case, if that's true, then you would think that there would be a story of creation that would be scientifically sound, inaccurate, scientifically accurate and sound, right? And I found that in the Bible. And I'll explain why I say that, because I know some people are going to say, you have all of these, a lot of people have been indoctrinated to think a certain way. But if you remove the indoctrination and you think about things simply, using both logic and reason, then things tend to make more sense, right? So anyway, in the scriptures, science says that there was an ice age, right? There was an ice age. Earth was covered in ice. The Bible essentially says the same thing. It says that the spirit of the Elohim moved across the face of the water. Now, people will ask, well, why didn't they just say that it was ice? If it was an ice age and it was ice, because as you find it in a number of languages, some words are interchangeable, that they mean different things. So you use the same word to have, but it can have multiple meanings. And so they didn't necessarily have to call it ice, because ice is essentially water. So if you think about science saying it was covered in ice, there was an ice age in the Bible, and the scriptures saying that it was covered in water, then they are in agreement. And then the scriptures say that the Elohim said, "Let there be light." And there are a number of theories about what this is talking about. Some people say that this is the moment of the Big Bang, which wouldn't make sense because the universe was already in existence. Some other people say this is, I don't know. I've heard a number of different things, but what it is, again, is a word that is being used that has different meanings. So light is talking about fire. And we find that also in science, that the earth heated up and then it cooled down. There was a cooling down period. So if you're looking at the scriptures, what does it mean? What happens when you heat up water or you heat up ice? Let me say that. What happens when you heat up ice? There's an evaporation and a separation of water, because you have water vapor and you have liquid water, right? There's a separation. And so in the scriptures, that's what it says. It says the water was separated, the waters above from the waters below, right? So that's scientific. You heat up ice, water evaporates, you get water vapor, you get water, liquid water. Also what happens is that land appears. The land that is covered with this ice, as the water evaporates, it recedes, and then dry land begins to appear. So again, scientifically and in scripture, it's in agreement, right? Then it says the sun was created. And some people will say, well, the sun, according to scientists, is older than the earth, which is not necessarily true. Because keep in mind that if the water covered the earth, then the scientific method used to date the age of the earth would not exist before the earth was actually exposed, because you're using carbon dating, things like that. So the dating, you couldn't do that. Plus, scientists have found that much of Earth's water is older than the sun. Much of Earth's, well, now they have different theories as how that happened and how the water got here. But if we were to agree with the scriptures, then we could see that it is feasible. It's not something that is impossible. And then you continue on. You have sea life, and then you have the land animals, and then you have humans. And that is what science teaches us, is the order of life as well. So when I found that, I felt that the Bible could be used to, because it had the creation. And keep in mind, this is before technology was able to make these discoveries, and we're talking about it in ancient times. So for them to have this accurate creation in sequential order, it's just my opinion that they had to get it from someone who had knowledge of these particular events. That's what I believe. But then everything is debatable. So that pretty much sums it up. If you have any questions or you have any comments, feel free. I do have a question and answer segment where you can ask your questions there, and I will respond as expeditiously as possible. I asked this question this week too. What do people believe is the cause of human suffering? And a common theme among people who responded was money, greed, selfishness, poverty. Those were the answers that were given a majority of the time. Poverty, greed, selfishness, money. What is interesting about that is that in 1 Timothy 6:10, it says, the love of money is the root of all evil. It's the root of all evil. And I've explained this on occasion. The reason that we have people starving, while not only in another place you have bounty and people living well, but you have subsidies that are, farmers are paid subsidies to just get rid of crop, and waste is thrown out while other people are starving. But that is because they don't want to mess up the supply and demand. What's the word I'm looking for? The supply and demand. They don't want to mess up the supply and demand. So you have to have that happen. But what is interesting about that is that the primary cause of poverty and the greed is capitalism. And this is where I was saying that it would be borderline conspiracy theory, because the capitalism is the New World Order, right? And you've heard this a number of times, New World Order, and people have all of these wild and outlandish thoughts about what it would be, but it's actually a social order, and I'll read it for you here. I found this a few years ago, right? Social order. So, and again, keep in mind, New World Order. You heard presidents mention it. I think even Obama mentioned it. Bush mentioned it. Gorbachev mentioned it. It's been mentioned a number of times to create this New World Order. The thing is that we didn't understand that it already existed. It was just, maybe a few countries that were not part of that capitalist world order. So anyway, the term social order can be used in two senses. In the first sense, it refers to a particular system of social structures and institutions. Examples are the ancient order, the feudal order, and the capitalist social order. So today we live in this New World Order. And what has happened is that over time, people have amassed all of the resources on Earth. They control the land, They control the water, which are pretty much the most important things to control: the land and the water, because you need land to produce food, you need water to survive. So by controlling them, you really don't need to control much else. But they amass those resources, and then they put you in a position where you have to purchase those things back. You have to go and earn a living to make sure that you can provide sustenance for your family. Also, they made us, but what is interesting about this, not only did they do that, but they figured out how to make us better consumers. And what I mean, there's a book called The Hidden Persuaders. It was written by Vance Packard in 1957. Let me see if I can pull this up. It was, I remember reading it a while ago, and it was talking about, I don't know if you remember what was that, Bud Light, tastes great, less filling. That was a psychoanalysis of people. And what they did was they asked you to take a drink. It was actually the same beer. And they want you to, take a drink and then tell them which one was taste great, which one was less filling or whatever. And what happened is that the people, because they felt that the people of a higher class were drinking the one that was less filling, people had a tendency to say that less filling was the better beer. Man, can I get it somewhere? I had it, but let me see. Okay, this may be it here. I wanted to read some of it for you because it was interesting what he was saying here. Let me see. Okay, this is what he says. This is the depth approach. He writes, "This book is an attempt to explore a strange and rather exotic new area of modern life. It is about the way many of us are being influenced and manipulated, far more than we realize, in the patterns of our everyday lives. Large-scale efforts are being made, often with impressive success, to channel our unthinking habits, our purchasing decisions, and our thought processes by the use of insights gleaned from psychiatry and the social sciences. Typically, these efforts take place beneath our level of awareness, so that the appeals which move us are often, in a sense, hidden. Some of the manipulating being attempted is simply amusing, some is disquieting, particularly when viewed as a portent of what may be ahead on a more intensive and effective scale for us all. Cooperative scientists have come along providentially to furnish some awesome tools." I would suggest that you read the book. I don't want to go more into it, but he was definitely talking about. There's also a documentary by Edward Bernays called "The Century of the Ego," "The Century of the Self." Another one where they were psychoanalysis, trying to figure out how to make us better consumers. I don't know why I mentioned that. I just thought it was interesting. I did think that was interesting. But anyway, Thanksgiving this week. I guess happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, all of that if you are celebrating. If not, I have not. Well, let me not say I have not celebrated. I have sat down to eat with my family on said day. But I listened to the song "No Church in the Wild," Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Jay-Z said Thanksgiving disguises a feast. So I went back and I looked it up, and I found out what really happened prior to Thanksgiving, a massacre, and so it changed the way that I viewed Thanksgiving. And I just found out recently that the Native Americans, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving. It's called, they do gather for a day of mourning on Thanksgiving. um, which is interesting. I don't know if you know this. In fact, Thanksgiving actually started off where it was fasting and prayer. It wasn't a feast; it was fasting and prayer. But anyway, um, lost my train of thought for a moment. Actually, I don't have my notes here. I thought I had my notes. I have more to say about that, but don't have it here. So I guess we will continue on to the next topic. Um, what is this about? Oh, Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar dropped a new album this week. GNX. I did get a chance to listen to it. It was okay. I guess it was okay. To be quite honest, Kendrick Lamar has never been one of my favorite rappers. And I know a lot of people feel like he's one of the greats. I don't. The Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, I have said before, is probably the best album, hip hop rap album that I've heard since I've been listening to it. But as far as Kendrick Lamar as an artist, I don't like his delivery. I don't really like his flow. I know he's a lyricist. You know, he's an intelligent rapper, creative. You can say he's creative, but it's just not something that you're gonna find me playing at any point in time, really. You know, even with me, you know, liking the Big Steppers, I probably haven't played that in I don't know how many months. It's just not something that. Yeah, and so he had this thing where I guess he said something about Lil Wayne. I don't necessarily feel that he was dissing Lil Wayne. I don't know where that came from. I didn't hear it when I listened to the album. I didn't hear him dissing Lil Wayne. I heard him making, "What's going on? How you doing?" You can always join if you like. Just send a request and you can join the live. But yeah, I didn't really hear him diss Lil Wayne, but if there was a versus between Kendrick Lamar and Lil Wayne, I know some people said, you know, the old Lil Wayne or the new Lil, you know, whatever they were saying. At the end of the day, Lil Wayne is one of the greatest rappers ever, and like he said, you don't want to wake his sleeping giant. You don't want to wake that man up because he's like that for real. That's my opinion. Again, Lil Wayne is one of the best rappers of all time. my wife says he'll get up and get knocked back down. Kendrick is not. He's not going to do that with Lil Wayne. He's not. Now let me say this: if Kendrick Lamar had some information, because you can talk about the situation with Birdman and how he wasn't getting the money he was supposed to be getting, and people had to buy him out of his contract. But as far as the rap skills, Kendrick Lamar is not on the level of Lil Wayne at all. Period. It's just not. And if I had to get a top three, that's what I was going to do. I was going to give you my top three. I think I should do a top 10. But see, I really have to go back and I got to listen to everybody again before I come out with this top 10 or top 20 rappers. But if you were to ask me the best rappers, until it's confirmed that Drake's songs like the 5 a.m. in Toronto and Calabasas and Dallas and and some of his other work, if people come and say, hey, these things, he had co-writers on, he had ghost writers and stuff like that, then I would say, okay, we got to take it back from Drake. But if those are Drake, you know what I mean, which I believe they are, Drake is the best rapper of all time, hands down. Then, and this may be a bias for me, the second to me would be Scarface. and I know people are going to be, what, you wild and Scarface? But yeah, Scarface. Scarface is a great storyteller. He's not a lyricist, but he has great delivery, great flow, great storyteller, and he can create emotion. And I think that those are the aspects of a rapper: the flow, delivery, lyrics, emotion, and storytelling. So Scarface. I think third would have to be Lil Wayne. I think I'll put Lil Wayne third. Fourth, Tupac. Tupac for sure. I said Tupac for sure, but it's Tupac. But yeah, Tupac. Fifth. See, this is where it gets fifth. People like Biggie. I don't like Biggie like that. Don't like Biggie like that. I don't. I think I don't know, what this infatuation with Biggie is, but Biggie wasn't like that. Not at all. But yeah, let me see. Where I'm at, Eminem. Eminem. Got to put Eminem there. Yeah. Eminem is definitely, and
he said, I used to bump the Carter 3. I held my rolling chain proud. Irony, I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down.
Right. But he says his heart.
His feelings about that Super Bowl.
Right.
And he wasn't even having it. But they didn't give you the option to be on the Super Bowl.
Right. So that's what he was saying. That's why I'm saying I don't feel it was a diss. He was just saying, I think because they invited me to do the Super Bowl, I think that disappointed Lil Wayne.
It used to be a singular, now it's a plural.
Right. But that's rap though. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure. But yeah, my wife just read some of the lyrics for me. And like I said, it wasn't really to me a diss. He was just saying, hey, I got, the Super Bowl invite. You didn't, you know what I mean? And, you might be in your feelings about it, whatever. But it wasn't really a diss.
He said, got the Super Bowl, and Nas the only one congratulating. All these niggas agitated. I'm just glad it's on their faces.
Okay, but that's just
the only person.
Yeah, he said Nas was the only person that congratulated him, and
because everybody else was team light skin.
It was team light skin. Okay, yeah, that may be possible.
Team white women.
But again, see, my wife don't like Drake, but I'm just okay. So what? Like I said, my top 5: Drake, Scarface, Lil Wayne, Tupac,
smoking on your top 5 tonight,
and Eminem. And then if you go into 6, 7, 8, I would have to say Andre 3000 is my 6. Andre 3000. And then it kind of gets because there's a lot of people I got to go back and listen to. And I don't want to be biased because, some of the people are like people that definitely not going to be like those people need to be on there like Joe Budden. People are going to say, what are you crazy, Joe? T.I., Kanye West. Not, some of his new stuff, but, College Dropout, Graduation, all of those. So let me see where I'm at. 6, what I say, Andre 3000. What else would I put over there? Number six. And I know I'm probably missing some people. Oh, well, number 6, number 7. I would say Jay-Z. I would give Jay-Z number 7. Jay-Z, great flow, nice lyrics. I have not always been a fan of his production. He definitely got better. I liked it. The first, what was the first one he had with You Must Love Me, Imaginary Players, things like that. But during some of them other ones, the Sean Carter and all that stuff, it was cool, but it wasn't like that. But when he came back out with the Blueprint, and then he had the Black Album, and yeah, Jay-Z. And then just for his influence on rap, period, Jay-Z got to be my number 7. Number 8. Number 8, let me see. What would I put at number 8? I'm thinking T.I. got to be on there. T.I. is nice. T.I., you got to, did I say Kanye yet? I didn't put Kanye there yet. Let me see. See, and J. Cole and Kendrick not even on there for me. I don't know what it is. Like, they cool. And let me say this, J. Cole is nice when he's a feature on somebody else's song. But his albums, I don't think that I've ever played a J. Cole album more than once. And even when I'm playing it, I'm skipping songs. That's how I judge music. Great albums to me, are albums that I can put on and I'm going to play it from the beginning to the end. And then if I put it on again, I can still play it from the beginning to the end. I can, it's not where I'm skipping songs like, nope, I don't want to hear that. It's just, and those. So J. Cole has never had an album like that for me. Kendrick Lamar has never really had an album except for the Big Steppers. Even this one, I listened to it one time. I was like, oh man, let me go back and hear that again. There was one song on there that I think I listened to twice. But yeah, Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole wouldn't be on there for me. You have Cool G Rap. Cool G Rap, when I was young, was one of my favorites. People like Jadakiss. Jadakiss wouldn't be on there for me. He'd probably be in the top 20, but not the top 10. He might. No, not Jadakiss. It's where I'm at. I'm on 8, right? 8. I think I'm gonna have to think about this a little longer. I don't know. But after the show, it's the after party, so we just on here.
You still on there? You still on there?
Yeah, I'm still on here. What's up?
So I got somebody off from the I want to go to in my hair.
Okay.
That's how you get your hair done.
I'll go with you. What would go with you? Really? That's what we doing?
You heard that?
Yeah.
Listen to her.
Bro, say don't let them know. Don't let them know you get monetized, bro. They gonna be hating on you. They gonna be hating on you. They ain't lying though.
And look, we can tell you and talk to you about everything on there. That same post they talk about, they ain't like the first.
They ain't like one time, sharing or nothing.
I know you seen that because I ain't see your like on there.
I ain't see your like on there. You ain't said nothing. I talked about that. I talked about that on another live I did. I said, if you have people that say that they're your friends or so whatever you want to call them, you would think that they would try to support you, like and share, whatever. Especially if you ask them to do it, right? And so to me, when you don't do it, that's a much bigger statement. You know what I'm saying? That's a much bigger statement.
That's first thing opinion.
Yeah. You said throw some ignorant stuff in there. I really don't like. I don't want to. That's why I try to stay away from it. I try to put some funny stuff, but I don't want to be. I don't want it to be like some of the other stuff that I talk about. I want to stay away from those type of things. So anyway, I saw today, Trump vowed to end DEI. That's diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right? Now, keep in mind, the ladies from the House podcast were on, and we were talking about how he was going to give reparations or restitution to white victims of discrimination from the affirmative action in colleges. It's interesting that now he's talking about ending this diversity, equity, and inclusion. And like they're saying, that's like taking a step back, because now if you're saying, it's almost as if you're attacking affirmative action, where people will no longer have to hire a certain amount of minorities. You know what I mean? If that happens, I believe that would leave a lot of people hurt. You know what I mean? If you're not potentially forcing people to make sure that they hire minorities, then they have no incentive to do so. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder why he is making this such an issue. Why has this become an issue or a hot button topic for you? When you're going to be taking the seat here in a couple of months. Talking about those are some of the first things that you're going to do. Is that just to appeal to your base? What would be the need to appeal to your base? You can only have this term. You know what I mean? So there would be no need to appeal to your base. And then they have full power now. The Republicans there's going to be a Republican president, and they have the majority in the Congress. So anything that they want to happen will essentially happen. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm interested in it. But I think that it's a good time to invest going into this new term. I think it'd be a great time to invest right now, early in the year. I think the stock market is going to do great because people will have more confidence. So it'll be a good time to invest and prepare. Just prepare yourself, because you don't know what the future may hold. So I would definitely, but preparation is always something that you should be doing, or should be a primary focus. Guess I'm done here. How long I've been on here? 40 minutes. See, I'm gonna stay on 2 hours, so that's what I'm gonna do. Maybe I can get somebody to come on and debate a topic with me. You want to come on and debate a topic with me?
Not on camera. I'm still doing it.
Oh, okay. He said the sleeping giant tunes in. It's about time I get off of here. We ain't talk about nothing no way.